WWE2k19. This time it's an ECW broadcast, so I'm doing, as you know, or may not know, depending on whether you've watched some of my other videos, doing a 1997 pack. That's kind of the year for the whole theme for me, this year's game. So all my content that I'm creating, bits either side, some of my WF that I'm going to do, they're going to be sort of before and after 1997, so, but on a whole, it's 97. Anyway, let's go and look at the arenas that I've done so far. In fact, I'll look at the shows so that you can see the whole thing. Basically, I'm doing 3 ECW arenas. This supplements and helps my universe mode. I also create a couple of ECW ones that don't exist, that aren't real, that I've just made myself. But this year I really wanted to put some time and effort into making some authentic arenas. So what I'm going to do today is I'll show you the first 2 that I've created, and then I'm going to create the 3rd one with you so that you can see what I'm doing, see the images that I'm using, see my creative process and how I do it. I'll walk you through a couple of things on how I change things and how I know how to get as accurate as possible look and feel to the arenas that I create. So if we go down to, well, we've got Barely Legal straight away, so let's look at that one. I'm just going to play it, full preview, see what you think. Standard ECW Legal logo from scratch. Both of those logos, I had to find the fonts for, source everything that I could source from different places. I had to create the shape, the red shape myself, and I just basically used it as a template to try and find it, and that was the best I could do with what I could find. So here's Barely Legal.
The phenomenal
The thing I hate about this arena is the fact that, the second thing is that they add the WE logo to all of the main walls, which is so frustrating when you're trying to make something creatively authentic to how it was back in 1999, because clearly ECW did not have WWE branding everywhere in the arena. But unfortunately it's one of those things where you just have to accept the fact that they're going to put their logos on it. They own the business now. I get it. So there's that. I've obviously put a little bit more smoke in this arena, because when I looked at this and Hardcore Heaven from 97, which we're going to create in a minute, I could see that there was a lot of dust in there. It was a very sort of cloudy looking, foggy kind of atmosphere, so I put a bit more into this one than I did November to Remember. Okay, I think I'm done with seeing AJ. I've seen him about 50 times already now. So what I've done is a couple of things that I did change. Obviously the ring mats, I've had to try and give more of a sort of concrete effect, because they didn't have ring mats from what I could see on the network. And the logo in the ring as well, I believe, was actually a black ECW logo, but I wasn't sure which one they put in, so I actually just used mine. Just used the one that I had. I could easily go back. You guys could go back and edit that yourself. You've got November to Remember. Let's have a look at this one. I've just finished this like a few seconds ago. Now, one thing I will say, you're not going to see that image of the show image anywhere in the arena. They didn't have it for some reason. It was like something they used on the promotional posters and advertising materials and all that stuff, but they didn't really use it in the arena itself. So you'll only see it there, but I have got that as well. So when you download this, you will get that logo too, which is the actual logo for the pay-per-view. So let's full preview. Standard loading time. There you go. Obviously the logo's there on all the elements that I need it to be in. I've obviously changed the background to green because it was November to Remember, and green and black was kind of the colour scheme, which is so strange that they then used the red and the yellow in the November to Remember logo. but it's ECW. So here we go.
The phenomenal.
Now I tried to set the movie off on the Minitron, but it didn't work. So unfortunately, that's just as is. I wish I could turn that off, but it won't let me. But actually, on there, it's got the logos for ECW. And on the two side panels as well, there's a little ECW logo, which you'll be able to see, obviously, if and when you download the arena.
Arriving in WWE, but since he's been here.
So this one's a little bit cleaner than the other one. The other two, actually, that I did. There's a little bit of a lack of saturation, but the other thing I noticed was they had mats. They had ring mats, but they were this really strange sort of tan, almost beige colour. I do not understand why they decided on that colour. Whether they, for some reason, ECW got a cheap deal on like really disgusting looking mats at that time, I don't know. But they were the mats that they had for that event around the ring. So that's it. That's the two ECW arenas, November to Remember and Barely Legal. Now I'm going to do one more, which you guys, if you want, can sit and watch with me as I create it. If not, you don't have to. You can go away. So, I still don't feel like I'm fully used to all the controls either on this game, which is kind of weird because I've spent a lot of time on it over the last 24 hours. But it's been a lot of fun getting to see it and getting to play it. I haven't even played the game properly yet. I haven't played the wrestler. I think I've had one match, Goldberg, and it was like literally a Goldberg match where it lasted about 20 seconds. Okay, it's a bit weird with the templates on how I work this because I don't usually know which one actually is the right one, but I think template 9 is the one that I've been using. It's kind of like, I don't like the school idea, you know, the school auditorium. I'm not a big fan of that idea because I don't really think that's what ECW simply didn't go into those kind of venues. They went into very small actual arenas, so I'm sure they did some school stuff in their early days, but in 97 they weren't in school as far as I know. Okay, let's go into the base settings then and start changing some of this up. I don't know why they call that ECW. Maybe the guys at 2K watched an ECW pay-per-view where they used two little shrubs, but I've never seen it. I'm still yet to see it. So I always tend to start by, I mean, you can use it to begin with just to clear all the clutter away from the set design. I don't think it matters which one of these you use. Obviously one of them has pillars, the other one doesn't. But I think Venue 7, if I get this right in my head, Venue 7 actually has more WE logos on the wall. There you go. So that's why I don't use Venue 7 either. I prefer this sort of darker, dingier looking warehouse kind of look, as that kind of leans naturally towards ECW. It's ironic that the smaller arenas don't allow you to fight in the crowd, which is exactly what ECW was known for, and yet they made space, but obviously it was very rare. They would obviously fight more in the ring with the weapons than they would outside, but when they did go outside it would be awesome. Okay, movie display, obviously there is no movie at the moment, so I can't change any of that. Stage construction though we can start. So from the images that I have now, just so you know, I've got a computer next to me. I'm looking at I've taken some screenshots from the network that just help me sort of get everything right. Looking at the entranceway, it's on like this ramp, which they won't have on this game. But we will see. Let's see if we can find something that's close to matching it. Now, the fact that that's got SmackDown and Raw on suggests that that is not the one I'm looking for. It's not really there are curtains surrounding it, but it's definitely a metallic structure. where they're entering from. This is not the closest. That's weird. See, I used that one for the other one. I don't think that's the best entrance. That's not bad, but it's just that because it's such a strange shape, it doesn't really work for the arena. I would love to use this one, and I might do because it looks close enough in terms of the rig setup above the entrance. So I'm actually going to use this, and what I'm going to do is just black everything out so it looks like an actual structure. It looks like it's going to throw the logos everywhere, and that's a problem because they didn't actually have a logo on this area, but they did have a logo somewhere else in the arena. So what I did was created another logo, this ECW logo here, again based on, you know, the original, but I noticed that they did have this on another part of the arena. So what I wanted to do with this, I remember thinking when I watched it on the network, I actually want to make sure it's on here somewhere, and it makes sense to use the entranceway as a point where I can reference the fact that this image was in the arena as well. So that's a little bit sneaky maybe, but for me that just gives a bit more authenticity to the fact that this logo was in the arena at the time. The other thing I think I'm going to do is go ahead and... Now I've also got the original, I've made that logo as well from the original. But I've also got somewhere Hardcore Heaven, there it is. Now what I want to do is actually put Hardcore Heaven somewhere on here so that you know that this is the actual pay-per-view. I think I'm going to fill it up quite a lot, ECW-esque. I'm just going to put it like that in the middle. As I'm talking, I'm telling you, reassuring you, I know that this is not how it looked precisely at the entrance, but for the sake of actually getting something looking right. In fact, let's take it off. I'm contradicting myself. By wanting to be authentic, I should take this off. So what I am going to add on, I am going to add the one that I did previously, because I do like that one. I think that that makes sense on the side, but not on the main screen itself. So I'm going to add that up here, because that's how it appears on the wall. Just take a bit of the opacity down so it doesn't shine so bright. Now what I am going to do as well, I don't think there's a curtain effect, but I'd love to be able to... I will change the colour to what I saw the curtain colour was. Okay, that's not a curtain, but it's close to. Again, typical ECW, it's like a horrible... It's like an orangey kind of colour curtain that they've got. Very, very horrible. So my way of being authentic is I'm going to make sure that the colour is actually the same as the entrance for ECW. Okay, that's that done. I don't usually put rigs of lighting into my ECW arenas. I just don't think that they really work that well, if I'm honest. And frankly, their events weren't big enough. They didn't really have any wall stuff, so that's the... I'm happy with the entranceway. Now, the build-up to the ring is okay. Again, happy with that. It's kind of like a makeshift entranceway. It's really cool. So if you do hear anything in the background, a noise, that's me literally watching the event on the network just to find out what colour the ramp was, because it looks like it changes a little bit. Now, I guess the question I've got in my head is, do I add a ramp? Do I actually create a little ramp? Also, I'm going to go to match lighting because that's always better. Yeah, I'm thinking to myself I might actually add a ramp. But by doing that, I might lose. And this is one of the frustrating things, I guess, with WWE 2k games, is that sometimes when you add stuff, it can just completely ruin everything. So let's see. Okay, we've got stages here. So what I want to do is try and find sort of a nice, small ramp. Okay, that hasn't changed much there. Let's just accept that for a minute, because there is a ramp way for the entrance, but I'm going to have to obviously do a little bit of work to the stage itself, because that looks awful. There was stage panel. Oh, that's... no, that's not good. So let me see if I can change that. I'm going to see if I can find maybe a better stage that better represents the arena. It's crazy because it doesn't look like there are any rampways with like a dark paneling around the side, which is unusual because it was like for the course. It's too modern. Now this one might work. Let's see if this works. Oh shoot. Now obviously what I'm saying here is that the rampway wasn't so big, and I'm going to try and change that if I can. But right now I'm just trying to change the paneling first. I want to make sure I get an arena that actually looks as good as it can. I think that's going to be the best I can do. So if I go back to the Minitron, I'm going to see how far forward I can bring this. It's looking like that is as far forward as I can get it. I obviously want it closer to the ramp so it looks more like the genuine walkway in the arena that there was, but unfortunately it still wants space on the ramp. No announce table, no stage props, nothing like that. Stage display. No, I want the rig. Oh, so there is a light group, and that was red. I think it was more of a bright white red than... There you go, that's a bit better. Okay, so that's the stage way done. ECW stages are always really hard to do, obviously, because they're sort of immersed and sort of merged into the arena that they're hosted in. They don't have bespoke stages, setups and stuff like that. They didn't have the money or the budget for it, so it's a lot harder to create theirs and to make it still feel kind of authentic and genuine. One thing I have done wrong, I need to go and change one thing, which is in the base settings. I thought it was in the base settings. Sub movie, there you go. Okay, so what we want to do is remove this, remove that. And then that's all done. Okay, now we're on to the ring. Okay, now the ring in this arena is actually really kind of dingy, dark. The colours are hard to tell because the lighting is so bad at this event. It's actually really, really hard to tell what they've done. But I think I can more or less get the colours based on what I've made previously. with ECW. Now at this point I'm in a bit of bother because I've got to go out of here and just save this. So what I'm going to do is just delete the ring stuff so that we're just left with the base. The ring side of it, I'm going to name it, and then I'm going to jump out because I've got to send myself a file that I forgot to send myself for this arena. So what I'm doing now is I'm going into some folders on my computer. What I did, I obviously went on the network, but then what I do is I create the logos that I need for the event. On my computer I store it in like, I think it's in pay-per-views. So I go into the pay-per-view, find the event, which is Hardcore Heaven. Then I've got, yeah, there it is. Well, actually I've got two, so I'm going to upload both, and then that way I'll find out exactly which one I need for this event, because basically I've designed them both differently based on how they look in the arena itself. So now that they're uploading, I can go ahead and save this. I think the other thing I've got to do is actually change the name of my other arenas to make sure that they have ECW at the beginning, because I'm sure there's a lot of fans who are not going to know that these arenas were pay-per-views for ECW, unless of course you're a big fan of ECW. I'm just going to go in and change the menu image because I can get that done now. I always like that to be done. No, I'm not going to do the show. So this has been good fun. I'm basically a little bit gamer hungover from all of the work that I was doing last night. I've just gone straight into today. I had about 5 hours sleep and just woke up and got on with doing more content. So if I'm a bit lethargic today, I feel like yesterday in my videos I was getting tired. Today I just woke up tired, so I was like, I'm gonna have to suck it up and just keep going. Anyway, image manager. Let's get these two. So there you can see, there are the two images. One of them I've already got, but the one that I'm downloading is the one that I need for the arena. So I'm gonna go straight back into creations and edit. So again, just going to wait for this to load now. And once this has loaded up, there it is, ECW Hardcore Heaven. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to just go in here now and change out this ring apron. So I've got the colour for the ring apron. What I don't have is the image. Now, the way that they did it, the apron that faces the camera was actually the one that had the logo on. So we're going to go in here now, and we should have Hardcore Heaven. There it is. It's not an exact match, so if you're going to critique, that's absolutely fine. This was the hardest arena to find the font, or any kind of font for. And you've got to remember, this is all back in the 90s as well, so everything was like harder to find. So what I've done is, this was the logo font, this was the actual pay-per-view logo font that I've used, but they used a different style font on the actual ring aprons, so this isn't quite the same, but it's as close as I could get it because I can't find it. If somebody else can find the font, I would love to know what it is, because it would make my life a whole lot more fun to know that I've got this right. But for now, that's the one I've got to go with. So on this side of these mats, they did the same thing. They actually didn't have steps either in ECW, not from what I can see anyway on the videos. But they always had like the white ECW logos, brand exposure and all that stuff. I don't need to change the size. I think the size is more or less correct, if I'm quite honest, so I'm happy with that. Except that. So now we want to go over to the second group. Now in the second group, what they also did, ECW would always have a massive ECW logo on this side of the apron. And it was really big, almost to the point that it would go the whole height of the ring mat. Again, white, nice and big. It's funny because WCW and ECW had a lot of consistency in how they did things, but actually ECW changed the turnbuckle colours and things like that, whereas WCW didn't do that. They always seemed to keep those yellow turnbuckles for their pay-per-views. It's interesting seeing these nuances between the different brands actually. WE were the same, like they would throw it around and change different things, but for, I guess for ECW, they didn't have as much money to spend, but they also wouldn't have had a massive elaborate stage to pay for and to get designed and to get things made for bespoke. So they would have had enough budget just to simply make little changes like the turnbuckle colours, etc, etc. So I feel like with ECW that's what they did, and that's why they did it. The mat is always a weird colour at ECW, and again I'm kind of restricted because the lighting is so bad in this arena that I'm looking at. It's around about this colour blue. It's a really weird, horrible colour blue. It's an old school colour blue actually that I remember in WCW when I was a kid watching. They haven't got anything on the ring mat, no logos or anything like that. The ropes are black. Simple. Get that one done. Now ring posts also black. So, I mean, their rings don't look bad, you know? There's something sort of iconic looking about their rings, if you ask me. And it was the next bit that really makes that stand out. So what they did was they would colour, in this event, they coloured the turnbuckles blue. It's kind of like a rich blue. Maybe slightly darker than that. And then for the second turnbuckle it was red, like a kind of like a normal red. There you go. And of course now I've saved those, so the colours are a bit odd to have the turnbuckles, but that's what they did. And what they did as well was they had the two opposite turnbuckles, almost like a boxing ring, which I always find quite funny, but that's what they did, so that's what I'm going to do. And they again mirrored the blue, red, blue, which is great because now it actually feels like it's at this point for me where I feel like I'm looking at an ECW ring, you know? It all starts coming together at this point. The steel steps, they didn't have any, but what I do is colour them black because it hides them a little bit better than if I had them as silver. They'd stand out a bit too much for me. So I make them black just to sort of hide them away. Now, this is where it starts getting tricky. I've got to find a match on the card where they go out of the ring, so I can find out what colour they actually had the, not the ring mat, but outside of the ring fixed. Okay. So ringside floor mats, obviously, oops, wrong one. I always go to classic because that's what it is. However, looking at this one, to get it right, I want to do the one that has the least visible lines. So I'm just going to look at what they use. That actually kind of looks perfect. Okay, so it's like a wooden kind of floor. And they had this a lot, but it's like this time it's like a more pale floor. It's more like that. And what's beautiful about the NXT ring mats are actually that those black lines are present, not necessarily around the ring itself, but closer to where the barricades are. You can see the black lines where they've obviously taped up the wiring and stuff like that. So that actually makes it look a little bit more or closer to authenticity of what I'm after. Now I'm literally looking at the barricades as we speak, so I know what colour they are. That's those done. And then the fence is obviously the normal steel barricade. The announce table, there isn't one. Okay, so we're getting there. I feel like I've messed up a little bit on the entranceway on the stage. So I'm going to see if I can make that a bit smaller, because I'm not sure I like the fact that it's got those brown colours where it's clearly not brown colours, other than those weird curtains, which if you watch the event yourself you'll see exactly what I mean. But for now, let's go and do the saturation. I always do the same thing for sort of retro arenas. It's -20 +20 rule. And then, wow, they've added 10 fog to this one. I actually don't usually go that high because it looks a bit more dingy than that. I'd say it was more of a 5 or a 6 for this one. Okay, obviously there's no lighting issues there. So now I've got to sort this stage out. That is going to be the big thing for me. Other than that, I'm really happy with the ring. I'd love to have got the official font right for the apron for Hardcore Heaven, because as you can see, it's not that it looks bad, it's just if you see the original you'll understand what I mean. And I may even go back and change that if I want, but for now that'll do. I'm not uploading this yet because I haven't got enough room to be able to do it, so don't worry about that. I'm going to keep working on this, but this is the ECW arena. You've seen the other two that I've got. You follow me on xharper.co on Instagram or just xharperco on Twitter. Hit me up, let me know what you want to see. If there's any classic arenas that you would like in the game, please let me know. Just tell me and I'll have a look. Go and watch it on the network. I'll do a bit of research on it, try and find all the pieces that I can for it, and who knows, I might even put it on there for you. So thanks for watching, thanks for taking the time, and I will see you soon.